have been part of his generosity. And this is important. It's important why we have a girl up here, because she is our future, our vision, and has the energy to carry on the work that you have sown, the seeds that you have sown, and so very important. So the intergenerational dialogue, I hope that when we have the panelists up here, for which there are no young people, that the young people will be the ones to ask the questions. And with that, I would just like to cede the minutes I've gone over to my namesake here, who is going to say a few words. Bismillah.
My name is Amina Abubakar. I am from Epitome Model Islamic School. I am here to congratulate Dr. Kole on his 65th birthday, and I hope and pray that you all pray for me to become the next Amina Muhammad. Thank you.
Inshallah. She's going to be a Secretary General. I was just the deputy. She'll be the Secretary General. Thank you very much. Happy birthday.
I think we should give a resounding round of applause to the two Aminas who are making us so proud. And it's my uncle who used to say, don't look at a woman's face and how shy she looks. Look behind her eyes and see the steel that she carries. Amina, the student, came here looking like she was, until she opened her mouth. Be careful, because these women are absolutely brilliant and they know what they're doing, they know where they're going. Look behind the hijab. There's something so powerful there. And I know, because this is where I grew up. I understand it perfectly. This is the time to serenade Dr. Shetima. We're going to stop talking and we're just going to listen to saxophone music for no longer than 3 minutes to break the Rubicon of talking and so celebrate Dr. Kole Shetima with the saxophone. You've been listening to Donnie Sachs. Donnie Sachs has provided that interlude between talk and music, and we felt that all that talk, while it's great to listen to all we have to say about Dr. Kole Shetima, we must also listen to some music to warm and gladden our hearts. And that instrumental is by jazz musician Grover Washington. And those in the generation of Kole Shetima know that we listen to Grover Washington, we listen to Spyro Gyra, we listen to Georgie Benson and Earl Clue. Today, the music that is being played, some of it's AI generated, we don't even understand it. But we take it. Our children are in a different world entirely. We take it. But Grover Washington was one of the main persons that we listened to at that time, along with Georgie Benson, Spyro Gyra, and Earl Clue. Would like to thank Donnie Sachs. Let's give him another round of applause for that. We are, at this time, going straight away to the keynote to be delivered by a man whose description is understanding democracy, understanding philanthropy, Africa-wide, with a Swedish education background. Today, we're going to be listening to Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, a political scientist and the founding executive director of the Institute for Democratic Governance in Accra. He holds a PhD, a master's degree, and a Bachelor of Arts from the universities of Stockholm, Sweden, and Ghana, Legon, respectively. As the executive director of IDEG, Dr. Akwete has guided the Institute's growth into one of Ghana's foremost think tanks, and he's involved in democratic governance and development in the Fourth Republic. In 2010 and 2014, he engaged with the Constitutional Review Commission and the Constitutional Review Implementation Committee on reforming the local government system into a multi-party structure. IDEG subsequently launched a set of proposals for multi-party governance reforms in 2014, aimed at building a national consensus on constitutional, legal, institutional, financial, and human resources to transform the Fourth Republic into a fully fledged multi-party democracy at both central and local government levels. Dr. Akwete has participated in various international election observation missions, including Kenya, AU, South Africa, AU, and Nigeria, Commonwealth 2019. He served on the Commonwealth Eminent Persons Group and is a member of the Ministerial Advisory Board of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. In recognition of his work in promoting democratic governance, development, anti-violence, and electoral peace in Ghana's Fourth Republic, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete received the Martin Luther King Jr. Award for Peace and Social Justice in Ghana in 2015 and the Millennium Excellence Award for Democratic Development in Ghana in December of 2010. A man whose duty today is to unpack for us the role of philanthropy in strengthening democracy in Africa as Dr. Kole Ahmed Shetima turns 65. Please help me welcome Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, who is our keynote speaker. Welcome. It's my job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please may I observe all protocols. I recognize our distinguished Deputy Secretary General of the UN and my own brother, former minister, and so on and so forth, and all the professors there. I don't know how my name came up for this particular moment, except that CDD West Africa called and said, can you handle this topic? And I said yes, but it was such a short time I wanted to dodge because there's so much happening. Then I saw the names and I said, look, if it's Kole Shetima, my dear brother and friend, at 65, I didn't ask them, but I thought retirement here in Nigeria is 65. So I was motivated by the fact that he's actually exiting, and I didn't want to miss that. But I'm hearing today that he's completed one generation and moving on to the other in this important work he has been doing. So what I thought I could do within that short space was to see how do we talk about the role of philanthropy and democracy in Africa. I give some historical review. It's something that I did very quickly so that I could have something to say here. But based on the comments of the panel and so on, probably we could develop the paper. So I start by noting that the involvement of philanthropic organizations in West Africa's democratic development can be traced back to the colonial and post-colonial periods, when early efforts were primarily centered around education, economic development, and social welfare, rather than direct political engagement in constructing a fitting democracy in the sub-region. Economic development and social welfare were also important, probably they're more important than direct political engagement. However, institutions such as Carnegie Corporation, Ford Foundation, and Rockefeller Foundation played significant roles in establishing schools, training local leaders, and providing economic support for governance structures. However, colonial rule largely restricted political participation, and early philanthropy focused on humanitarian efforts rather than governance and democracy. With the wave of independence in the late 1950s and 1960s, newly independent West African nations faced political instability, weak governance structures, and economic challenges. Many countries struggled with authoritarian rule, military coups, and civil unrest, which hindered democratic development. During this time, philanthropic organizations shifted their focus towards human rights advocacy, governance support, and economic resilience to address the root causes of instability. Later, institutions such as the Open Society Foundations, OSF, and the Ford Foundation began supporting civil society actors and governance initiatives that promoted transparency, accountability, and citizen engagement. By the late 20th century, West Africa began transitioning from military regimes to multi-party democracy, what we have also generally characterized as part of the global third wave of democracy. Following pressure from local civil society movements, international donors, and political reforms driven by global democratization trends. Countries such as Ghana, 1992, Nigeria, 1999, and Liberia, 2005, returned to civilian rule in a sort of multi-party system. This sparked a wave of democratic transitions in West Africa and across the entire African region. Philanthropic, and it's changed its name again, and the international, I'm skipping it to save time, and the International Republican Institute became central to democracy promotion efforts in West Africa and in other parts of the continent, offering technical assistance to electoral commissions, political parties, and civil society organizations. Their contributions strengthened election monitoring, voter education campaigns, and judicial independence, laying the groundwork for more stable democratic institutions. In that same period, the Mo Ibrahim Foundation embarked on a leadership program looking at those promoting governance accountability and leadership excellence in Africa. The foundation introduced the Ibrahim Index of African Governance, a tool used to measure and track governance performance across African countries, including West Africa. The Mo Ibrahim Prize for Achievement in African Leadership was also established to reward former African leaders who demonstrated exceptional governance and democratic stewardship, reinforcing the importance of accountability and good governance practices. As West African nations moved further into the 21st century, philanthropy expanded its focus beyond electoral support to encompass institution strengthening, political accountability, social justice, and economic inclusion. Recognizing that democracy cannot thrive without strong institutions and inclusive governance, philanthropic organizations began funding initiatives aimed at judicial reforms, leadership development, anti-corruption efforts, and public sector transparency. In response to post-election conflicts, military takeovers and governance crises in countries such as Cote d'Ivoire, Mali, and the Gambia, philanthropic organizations increased their focus in peace building, transitional justice, and conflict resolution. This led to the creation of initiatives like the Africa Transitional Justice Legacy Fund, which our brother spearheaded and was implemented in West Africa. IDEC had opportunity of hosting that project, but it worked through at least 12 West African countries. The ATJLF provided funding and technical assistance with technical assistance provided through the MacArthur Foundation's generous resources. And this led to community-led transitional justice projects, post-conflict reconciliation, and survivor-driven justice efforts aligning with the African Union Transitional Justice Policy. These are unique contributions that our brother celebrating his birthday today and his organization initiated at the Pan-African level and in West Africa. Institutions such as GIZ, OSIWA, IFES, and the Ford Foundation expanded their contribution to civic education, digital democracy initiatives, and media freedom. The rise of disinformation, cyber threats, and attacks on press freedom pumped philanthropic donors to fund fact-checking platforms, investigative journalism, and digital security training for civil society organizations and journalists across African countries. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development estimated that between 2018 and 2020, philanthropy contributed approximately $5.5 billion to sub-Saharan Africa, highlighting the increasing role of private foundations in democratic development, governance, and economic resilience. In the last decade, new challenges such as misinformation, election-related violence, economic instability, and governance backsliding have posed threats to democratic gains in the region. Many West African countries have experienced growing political unrest, military coups, and social protest, prompting philanthropic organizations to focus on election security, democratic resilience, and conflict prevention. Institutions like the Mo Ibrahim Foundation, OSF, and NED continue to play key roles in governance research, policy reforms, and civil society empowerment, including the democracy remains inclusive, ensuring that democracy remains inclusive and accountable. Organizations such as the USAID, UKAID, IFES, and OSIWA have strengthened their funding for youth and women's political participation, governance innovation, and digital initiatives to prepare for the future of African governance. Moving forward, philanthropic organizations will continue to adapt to emerging threats, including cybersecurity risks, climate change governance, and regional economic integration, while maintaining their core mission of sustaining democracy, protecting human rights, and promoting transparent governance in West Africa. The MacArthur Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation has played a pivotal role in advancing democratic governance and fostering sustainable development across West Africa, with its efforts significantly bolstered by the visionary leadership of Dr. Kole Shetima. Over 3 decades, the Foundation's investment and initiatives have addressed critical challenges such as weak institutions, corruption, and limited civic participation, while promoting peace, stability, and inclusivity in the region. From this point, I'm looking at MacArthur Foundation and democratic governance in West Africa. West Africa has made notable strides in democratic governance, yet persistent challenges such as weak institutions, corruption, and limited citizen engagement continue to threaten progress. The region's history of political stability, including military coups and civil conflicts, underscores the need for external support from both regional bodies like ECOWAS and philanthropic organizations. The MacArthur Foundation has emerged as a key player in this space, investing over $234 million in Africa, with much of its funding directed towards Nigerian institutions. This commitment was instrumental in Nigeria's democratic transition, particularly in establishing the Fourth Republic, the long-lasting since independence in 1960. In 2023, the MacArthur Foundation, along other philanthropic organizations such as the Ford Foundation, Luminate, and Open Society Foundations, launched the West Africa Democracy Fund, committing $20 million over 3 years to strengthen democracy in countries facing governance challenges. This initiative aims to enhance citizen engagement, counter military coups, and promote political stability across the region, reflecting the Foundation's broader commitment to regional development. Dr. Kole Shetima's catalytic change. Under the leadership of Dr. Kole Shetima, the MacArthur Foundation's impact in West Africa has been significantly amplified. As the country representative of the Foundation in Nigeria, Dr. Shetima has championed programs and initiatives that address systemic issues and foster long-term solutions. His tenure is marked by a deep understanding of the region's complexities and an unwavering commitment to empowering communities. One of Dr. Shetima's most significant contributions has been his focus on strengthening civil society organizations as watchdogs and advocates for good governance. Through initiatives such as On the Nigeria Program, launched in 2016, the MacArthur Foundation, under his leadership, actively supported Nigerian-led efforts to combat corruption. This program fosters collaboration among grantees, reinforcing networks that work towards greater governmental accountability and transparency. By empowering local actors, Dr. Shetima has ensured that solutions are contextually relevant and sustainable. Another hallmark Dr. Shetima's leadership has been in his involvement in transitional justice. I've mentioned that already, but today we can see that the foundation has spent over $2.5 million in 45 institutions across Guinea, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Mali, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia. These efforts address historical injustices and promote post-conflict reconciliation, fostering sustainable peace and strengthening democratic institutions. Dr. Shetima's role in supporting these initiatives highlights his dedication to addressing the root causes of instability in the region. While much of the MacArthur Foundation's work has focused on Nigeria, Dr. Shetima's influence extends far beyond its borders. Recognizing the interconnectedness of challenges faced by West African nations, he has consistently championed regional cooperation and integration. His efforts have contributed significantly to strengthening institutions, fostering dialogue, and building resilience against shared threats such as insecurity, climate change, and inequality. Dr. Shettima's leadership is characterized by integrity, empathy, and innovation. He leads by example, mobilizing resources, fostering partnerships, and implementing solutions that address complex society challenges that at both local and regional levels. His ability to inspire collaboration and drive impactful change has earned him respect and admiration across West Africa and beyond. A legacy of hope and resilience. The legacy of Kole Shettima, I'm not saying you are retiring, I'm just reading what I wrote. The legacy of Kole Shettima is one of hope, resilience, and enduring impact. From his contributions to political reform in Nigeria to his role in advancing regional development, his influence resonates deeply across West Africa. His work has touched countless lives, offering opportunities and empowerment where there was once despair. Whether through initiatives aimed at improving education, promoting democratic governance, or enhancing social inclusion, Dr. Shettima has consistently prioritized the welfare of the most vulnerable populations in the region. He remains a guiding light, reminding us all of the power of service and the importance of staying true to one's principles. His story is a testament to the profound difference one person can make when driven by purpose and passion through organizations he mobilizes. His life and career stand as a beacon of inspiration, showcasing what can be achieved through dedication, vision, and a heart committed to serving others. I think I have more to read, but I would like to end here because I think the last paragraph speaks for what he has done, and there's a lot more that he's unleashed, but I think I would urge that we all stand and give him a standing ovation for serving Africa and West African people. Thank you.
An absolutely brilliant keynote that takes into perspective the institution that Kole serves as Regional Director Africa, and takes into perspective what it means to have democratic governance in Africa, and the various sides of philanthropy that Dr. Akwete has brought to the table. And then he dwells on the man, Kole Shettima himself. Would like to thank Dr. Emmanuel Akwete for that absolutely brilliant keynote that gives us a peek into what philanthropy means, what democracy means, and what it all means within the African context. We thank you so very much indeed for that work that you have given us. Most of it food for thought for us to go and ponder over, and then take another look at philanthropy and what it means from all its prisms. We thank you so very much indeed. At this time, we have students of GOSA, Government Secondary School, who are online to wish Dr. Kole Shettima a happy birthday. Can we have them unmuted? Can we have them on screen? Can we see them? Media, could you help us bring them up so we can hear them wish him happy birthday? This is the possibility of technology, of course. Are we good, or should we move on? Is it too sudden for them? They don't seem quite ready. They've been waiting, to be honest, so I'll just take my cue from Amina now. She's trying to make contact by telephone, and as soon as we can tell, we will then either move on or pick them up online. Let's hear a shout out for all the students in the room. Hello, students, can you give us a big shout out as you do? They're all pretending that they don't shout out. Oh, yeah, let's hear your voices, eh? Let's do hip, 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 hooray for Dr. Kole Shetima. Let's go. 3, hip, hip, hip. Hooray. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray. Happy birthday, Dr. Kole Shetima, from all the students here in the room. We once were students, so we know there is a battle in my home between ABU Zaria and University of Ibadan, you know, and I went to ABU Zaria. I don't take prisoners. My husband went to Ibadan, and there's always that question of which university is better. But you all know, all my children went to ABU Zaria, so who won is quite evident. There's no doubt in my mind. Nobody went to Ibadan. And I've told him that I'll go and take a degree in Ibadan to prove to him what I've been saying all these many years. That time will come. We don't see the students yet, and I think our time is fast spent, so we will, I can't see Amina either, so we will, at this point, without any interruption, quickly go to a very short interlude for entertainment that will be quick, and then we will go to the panel discussion, since the students are not yet where we want them to be at this time. Mr. Oda and Amina are making their way to... Do you have something you want to tell me? I think we will take the entertainment now, if the children are not ready, and quickly go on to the panel discussion. I know that the Deputy Managing Director of This Day Newspapers is waiting to take the floor as a moderator for the panel session, and all the panelists are seated in anticipation of that panel. Where are the group for the next set of entertainment? Can we have them quickly? We don't have that kind of time. Yes, let the responsible persons come into the room right away so that we can get the show going. Princess, do we have those who are having the entertainment? I want them now. There they are. much. These are the indigents of Abuja. They are called Abuja inhabitants, and they're here with their youth leader. We thank them very much. This is the time we quickly call on Gosa Government Secondary School, and media, if you're ready, so am I. Let's go. Happy birthday to Dr. Kole Shetima from the children of Gosa Government Secondary School. Look at their innocent faces. They look absolutely... They are ready for this happy birthday business. Okay, let's go. Can you unmute them, please?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. May the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord, may the good Lord, may the good Lord bless you. Happy birthday, sir. Thank you, sir, for all you have done for us. Thank you for teaching us a lot of things.
Thank you so very much, students of Gosa Secondary School. We're very pleased that you could come up and give us that happy birthday song, Gosa Government Secondary School. Please give them a round of applause. Let them hear you. Beautiful children, thank you for all the things you've given us to improve our lives. Well done. This is the time I invite my brother, the man who constantly provides us food for thought in the papers, political commentator, editor. I call him editor at large because I see everything across Nigeria and beyond. He's my brother, and together we served on the This Day editorial board. A gentleman just like Dr. Kole Shetima. Help me welcome the Deputy Managing Director of This Day Newspapers, Mr. Kayode Komolafe, who prefers to be referred to as a comrade. Comrade Komolafe, you can take your seat and introduce your panelists. Welcome.
Ngozi Iwere. Ngozi Iwere is the Executive Director, Community Life Project. Why would I wait Ngozi to start off? So let me say from the beginning that we have a very short time for this, and I only hope that the audience will be able to tolerate us for 30 minutes for the discussion. So I will explore the panelists that immediately their statement they should be as short as possible. Now I think I will be speaking the most everybody here if I say thank you to Dr. Emmanuel Akwete for a very effective keynote that has given us. And our job really in general is just to bring a look at some of the top things, the broad things that we are affected for. Dr. Akwete, has given us an total perspective, the role of philanthropy in democratic development, taking us back to the colonial days when quite a number of foundations then were mainly involved in humanitarian activities. And following this perspective that the great of military rule in the post-colonial era, that the focus then was expanded to human rights, freedom, democracy became an issue, and that the some of these foundations also, the philanthropy also came into fund the some of the activities. Perhaps for many of us here, period in history that will etch more prominently in our memory will be in the 90s, when you had the wave of democratization, following the fall of our war and the democracy agenda, the globalization, and all other policies. Of course, West Africa is named Africa, was not removed to that story. And at that point, philanthropic organizations wanted so that activities, that organizations and individuals engage in people's democracy, and that trend has continued up to now. So like I said, how we suggest that we start the very short. With the program that also the period allocated for intervention. So to further increase possible to give a moment for human response from the group. Now, I will give a preliminary question that I would like to put to all the panelists to understand. While protecting the future, we should have a definition of the moment. That is, from a period perspective, especially the three panelists that are available, for this discussion, you have the course of work, the course of activity, you have asked us to interpret the philanthropic organization and the impact they are making on the work which you do or which the organization that you work for is focused upon. So the question would be that what is our assessment of the movement, of the role that topic in the development of the movement? So I will think that Adia to have the question.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. And happy birthday, Police Fatima. Thank you very much, Mr. Akwete, for what you've done on the paper. It's up, and it's also very critical in giving us where we're coming from and where we're going. And to come back to the question from the moderator. For me, listening to Dr. Akwete and looking at the reality of what I have been going through within the civic space since 1999, formally, that is, I want to believe that we're at a crossroads. Initially, some of the doubts that we had about philanthropy being what it is said to be are now clear. Philanthropy is good. Philanthropy is essential. But most importantly, what you do with philanthropy is what is important. Today we celebrate a man who has translated what philanthropy should be. It should be something that touches the lives of the citizens of the state in which philanthropy is actively engaged. But where are we in this country? As we see, and I see so many places in this room that will attest to the fact that assumption, that work that has been done is at risk today as we speak in Nigeria, and I think for most West African countries, or even Africa as a whole. We live in times where the uncertainty of governance, the uncertainty of resources, the uncertainty of our cohesion are threatening the benefits that philanthropy could be turned into. We also live in times where trust deficit has undermined the people who bring to the table. Above all, and for moving forward, we need to recalibrate. We need to see the civic state examining itself, looking inward, and also trying to decipher. It is essential to have that recalibration because, as we see, and as Dr. Kwesi says, there is a shrinking, and we all know there is a shrinking. Until we go into what we're doing, building the citizens to have their voice, engaging government responsibly and also critically.
The institution of the dialectic between philanthropy, the dialectic between philanthropy and local development.
Thank you very much. Kaide, Luri Slave. A happy birthday. I think this will be the highest honor a Fulani can bestow on a Kanuri. So happy birthday. Having said so, I think we all recognize that a friend of his, happy to be associating with him over the past years. Moving to the issue, I think I can understand the concern that Dr. Mahdi raised about the future of philanthropy and what it might be doing from now on. I think we're in a totally different for philanthropic work will be declining. At the same time, the pressures and the needs for work, for the kind of work that is going to be attention as we move across the years, and we need to begin to think about new ways. I think there's a lot of work that has been done, particularly on health, and particularly on maternal mortality and morbidity, that hasn't been made, quite public. I know because I was involved directly in the maternal mortality program for Sokoto State before it's shrinking. I have already seen various notices about the USAID being pulled down completely, and many health programs, many issues about education, many issues about giving very critical assistance to communities is likely to simply disappear with the activities of the current government of the United States. So pressures will be rising, but the funding for addressing these pressures will be shrinking. And so we need to begin to think about new ways to address some of our challenges ourselves, without relying so much on external forces. I think that's the short thing I will say about this. Thank you.
However, it's not taking away the fact that building on what philanthropy became over the last 2 decades, that we still have that foundation that has to remain for us to move to the next chapter. I think one of the speakers talked about the next chapter of ensuring that we have the same solid plan for intergenerational growth, moving from one generation to the other in terms of leadership for promoting the market and not just leadership, political leadership, I am thinking about leadership civil society, leadership for philanthropy, and I will just say in briefing to everybody to see myself. 57 years ago, I was among the law students that Macarthur Foundation funded for 3 years to be part of human rights camp. And across the country, from Mandapole University to the University of Nigeria, MacArthur funded this project that basically students come together to be law lawyers, to characterize industry, and that way has led to a replenishing of the older generation, but above all, senior advocates of Nigeria, judges who grew up in human rights, and I think that's a very long lasting legacy that MacArthur is leaving for Nigeria. However, you also see that across Africa, there have been philanthropists that are supporting actions that we may never know who funded. For instance, there is a famous case of therapy against the global community that gave the landmark judgment in the African Commission on Human and Basic Rights, whereby Nigeria was told so of the commission that this communication and cultural rights are part of Nigerian included, having ratified and demonstrated the African Commission on Human and Basic Rights. It may be said that what it was philanthropy from Nigeria and across Africa that funded that project. And I could go on and on, but if you have the time up to the other one and even on top of your time, there have been funds set up by philanthropy in Nigeria, a newer MacArthur Fund Foundation, to support actual research. So we already have a foundation. So the fact that the new administration in the United States changes the landscape does not take away the fact that we already have a solid foundation established not just by MacArthur, not just by Ford Foundation, but we need to begin to look inward at how do we now open the new chapter, and that for me as a human rights practitioner and a development practitioner, it is important that we now look at the new chapter in terms of sustainable financing, in terms of local resource mobilization. We see what Dr. Kennedy Otedola is doing with state systems. We still have many Nigerians that have become even as huge donors as co-Islamic or even as I'm pleased to announce that my great company, Saturday Partner, is all online. So the next question goes to some of the chairman. Now, I'm happy to Martina, you mentioned this point about where the resources is coming. And that's why I think I will apologize. I will be a bit completely a bit provocative in my question. So the way the discussion is going and generally the way we see this country, when we talk of philanthropy, the assumption is that it must come from America, philanthropy must come from Europe, and I think that in itself is problematic. You have to, there is no law that ordains anything that is MacArthur Foundation, Ford Foundation, competent and the that to supporting the cause of democracy humanitarian effort in the cities of Nigeria. And I'm happy that Dr. Tete, pointed to this, even if you developed for that, in his teaching, and mentioning more Ibrahim, I remember when the foundation was launched from years ago, I was there in an center, and our teacher, somebody told you aware, was also a guest of the World Bank. This was the point of energizing the effort.
I'm sorry. While utilizing the effort of Mumbai in that price for that, $5 billion for any of the countries that have been challenged, and the record has been there that it acted democratically and assumed leadership. What the point is that just as we have the culture, the fall, the local line in Africa, and other lands, this conflict during the nature of our family system has also produced billionaires. Why is it that we do not have foundations of the passion of our culture, of journalism, all of that will also be funding the activities of the civil society organizations, institutions, other government or private, for the various dimensions, economic, political, social, So I would like for the ENUGU to look at the Is for the ENUGU there? Okay, if not, maybe the finalists here will address those questions and join us later. So I will start with the question and those are
Okay, thank you very much. I think you are absolutely correct. When we think about philanthropy, we don't have to always think, donors that come in from abroad. And I think that we have quite a number of philanthropist organizations in country that are providing, assistance, especially in the area of education and health, and support, to communities that are absolutely critical. And I don't think we should expect that these organizations operate in the way that those organizations from outside, are operating. Because first of all, historically, these organizations, the philanthropic movement in this country started. They have not been in the business for long, so we're anticipating that as this develops, they will be stronger. I know the Otedolas, the Dangotes, and the Ishaku, Rabius, and so on, all of them are providing tremendous assistance to communities. Much of this is undocumented. Although, quite a number of reports here and there. And so what probably we may start looking at is to move towards the systematization, of the provision of philanthropic assistance, to communities, and the areas where this assistance is being provided, and the categories of persons, that are benefiting from this, to have some basic information, on that, in order to assess, its impact and what likely suggestions we would make to make it better, than it is now. But you are absolutely right. We don't always have to rely, on organizations from outside. There are sufficient resources here. People have sufficient resources and goodwill, in order to do a number of things that we can. The only thing I have seen is that this assistance is not in systematized programs like we have seen them coming from abroad, like the Ford Foundation, like the MacArthur Foundation, and so on and so forth. So, but if we can take some time to think out, the entire, field of philanthropy in country, and to start to learn lessons about what it has done, what it might do, what kinds of suggestions can be provided in order to strengthen, it, and what areas, it might be going into. I think that will be quite important.
So, Adia, do you subscribe to the view that even beyond potential in Africa, you need to develop a capacity, for indigenous philanthropy, to support the democracy and development?
Thank you very much. I align with this, and it's one of the things I said at the meeting, that we need to start thinking inward. But what is right now the challenge for us in tackling that problem? We have three fundamental issues in my humble view. First is this going to be structured such that it is apolitical, it is also generous enough, and does not have any coloration? That is very, very important. Number two, what do we do with the trust deficit between the civic actors and those who hold either power or resources? Those who hold power see the civic state, where of course citizens trust better than government. They see us as not necessarily speaking for them, because the MacArthurs of the world, the four foundations of the world, do not ask us to come and sing about their praise, because they have a vision. If your work aligns with their vision, you work with them, irrespective of any condition. Unfortunately, the trust deficit that is so pervasive in our society makes it very difficult, because we have a fragmentation along so many lines of ethnicity, of religion, of even the power crop. So if we start looking inward, we need to be able to address that and remove its impact. The third thing I see is the issue of attribution. As we speak, you give the example of the ENUGU, give the example of the Dangotes and all of that. Now, can we, get them to understand that it isn't so much as the attribution, or we get politicians, and this is with all due respect to the Honorable Minister sitting here in front of me, who is an advocate, a politician, and a development expert. And my reference to Dr. Kai. We need to be able to translate things such as consulting projects into development projects. Consulting projects are where money is assured from government. And unless we can capture that kind of space, and with people like Rita, with the center you have left, I think that's one of
Now, how do you think this will be tackled in the light of the point which Dr. Akoli is that to trace the history of the philanthropic in relation to democratic development in justice and humanitarian effort. Then that one thing that has been very promising, is that both the philanthropy, as well as those who use the resources of the philanthropy, have been able to adapt in this situation. So now, how do you think the structure of that the trend, that spirit of adaptation is still maintained?
Thank you. That's quite a tricky question, but I think we already have the template. That program has undergone Before we just go take contribution from the audience, there will be just some final words from the panelists here, and we're very quick to begin. Professor actually attempted to frame the theme of this book. I think that what we are actually doing here is retaining the natural and this called democratic development. Now, in projecting, and from the conclusion of Dr. Apote's presentation, you can see that it dovetails into the role. Yes, it's about institutions. We talk about institutions, but also the role of the individual. Why I want us to just look at this is that what is happening in America now, you look at the institution to actually have a review of what has become one of the going. Oh, you don't need strong individuals, you don't need a strong individual, what you need is the institution. But then, from the life of our honorary today, that the character of the individual has a role to play in this way. Yes, institutions, movement, organization play a role, but also the individual has a role, and the attention has to to the role of the individual. Because as from the profile of the role of organization in West Africa, in Africa, in Nigeria, was, I felt very proud, when Dr. was also trying to do that, also profile Dr. Tony, the role and sort of those attributes. Now, as a final one, both the philanthropists and those who need the resources of the philanthropists to do the great work that they're doing at the level of society, what the need to be the role of the individual so that the purpose will be achieved, which is democratic development, social justice, equity, enhancement of our organic and trade. So I will start
Ambassador from Professor, and I think that was
Thank you very much. Let me first make the point that there's a danger in thinking about philanthropy as a solution to virtually every problem, you know, and I think that the presentations have and the interventions have been made quite well by Professor Janadu, by Dr. Akwati, and by John Oda in the initial message from the organizers. The state has a critical responsibility to discharge to its people. These responsibilities enshrined in chapters 2 and 4 of the Constitution. The people must hold the state responsible to do the basic things that it needs to do before we can start talking about the intervention of philanthropists. I think if we pull back, allow the state to do what it has been doing, you know, that is totally removing its hands from the provision of the basic necessities of life to people, then that's going to be a problem for us. That's going to be a greater burden on philanthropy. So my first point is that we need to begin to push the state to be providing the critical things that it ought to be providing today. Then we can, from where the state, you know, stops, philanthropy can take over. The role of the individuals, absolutely critical, because I think that for some of the comrades here, classes, you know, it's classes, the drivers, not individuals. But I think that the character of individuals are also critical in terms of managing institutions. And you have rightly pointed out, you know, Kole is one. We have several of them, you know, across. And it is very important to show leadership. It is very important to ensure, to provide direction. It is very important to be totally free from corruption. It is important to emphasize the resources that are provided for in public trust, you know, are managed, you know, on behalf of the public. It is important to ensure all of these things, and individuals, you know, are critical, you know, and the character of individuals are critical in ensuring that. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. In a minute each, Adia and Mr. Hilary, the final word.
Thank you, Keke. My final word will build on to what Professor Kuno was saying. I think the first thing for me as a final word is the choice of the topic for today. We are not speaking to aid. We are speaking to philanthropy in its biggest ramifications, meaning that from formal to informal support for development. And that means the first thing we need to do is to disabuse the minds of citizens, civil society actors, and governments about aid and philanthropy. That every one of us can be a philanthropist. It can be in kind and it can be in cash. It can be technical and any other thing that helps to build and deliver goods and services as a right to citizens in your country. The second thing is institutions. I always say it, Keke, that the United States of America is not the greatest nation in the world because of its presidents or because of its senators. No, it is because it has systems and institutions that can checkmate individuals. And until we are able to say that we have systems and institutions that are structured, accountable, well-resourced, and that submit to the rule of law, then we will not be able to garner that trust that enables us to tell every citizen they are also philanthropists. The next thing is about innovation. We can see what technology has done. Now we need to move away from dollars and naira and the euro in our hands to innovation in our heads and innovations in our ecosystem. What is there existing within our ecosystem that can translate into resources which we do not need to go looking for from anybody either in or out? I always say it, and I still believe it as a student. Where's my Ogajibu? Nigeria has no business with aid. We have reduced ourselves substantially to countries that don't have 1/1,000,000th of what we have. And so we are all now fretting because Yaya Trump is doing what he's doing. No, we should stand up to it. We should look inwards. And I'm glad that in this room we have the Otivisms of this world, we have the Ziks of the world, we have the Wises. We as these leaders of this space need to use the innovation of knowledge and action to change the narrative around philanthropy and aid. Because there are myths and there are realities. So we need to use innovation to deconstruct and construct. Lastly, it's about partnerships. We all cannot bring the same strength to change or to achieve systemic change. And this is one of the beauties of what MacArthur Foundation has been able to do over the last at least 10 years on the On Nigeria project. It has forged a partnership, not forced, forged. It has facilitated a partnership between the strong and the weak, between the urban and the rural organizations to work and achieve results for the good of all. Now, partnerships are non-negotiable because we have different strengths, and we must see that as our last bastion of being able to confront the governments of our countries, because unless we are one as a broom, we cannot fight them. They are bigger than us and they have more determination than us as individuals. So we thank God for the fact that in Nigeria, we're able to put our differences and dance and party and eat jollof rice. Let us use that to ensure that we keep our governments in check, we play our own roles, and we look inwards for resources to change the lives of our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajia. I particularly cherish your last word, the conclusions. Yes. And I think that everybody should put that in mind. Hilary, one word. Yeah.
It's okay, no problem. On that jollof note, I would want to, but let me just start from where I think Professor Kuna made mention of the fact that government must be government. Section 14, subsection 2. Security and welfare of the people. Let's not lose that fact. But let us also not lose fact that government has failed in many respects, and is either we begin to act as individuals towards ensuring that we continue to preserve our humanity and working towards reforming our government. So I would want to probably amend a little bit that government must be government, but citizens must also continue to take action. I am unfortunate to come from two worlds. My early part was spent in Maiduguri, where I spent like 17 years, and then I am an Igbo man. So every Igbo man in one way or the other contributes to community development. So I am sure the Igbos who are here pay monthly dues for what do they call vigilante back home, because police has failed. It's either you pay that vigilante, or you come back and your house will be missing, or the community would use chain and chain your gate, so you won't even get into your own house. So, but how do we reconstruct all of these community actions into something that supports the larger political governance? You go to a place like Maiduguri, where I grew up. I stumbled upon a school that is almost like a rehabilitative institution built by an NGO, Dr. Fatima Akilu, which I am sure a lot of us knows here. So this
school is changing the lives of young girls whom both society and the government have failed. Rising from the insurgency, rising from the brutal human rights violations that have characterized the Boko Haram conflict. So these are little snippets of actions here and there that citizens on their own, it could be security in the southeast, it could even be tarring the roads in the southeast by community. But the truth is that I want to agree with Professor Kuna, government must be government. But in the face of the failure that has presented itself before us, citizens' action is what we can rely on while we continue to hold government to account, ensure that we collaborate, that partnership that was mentioned by my big sister here, about ensuring that our electoral processes throw up for us the right set of leaders. Imagine the kind of people in this room. Just imagine the array of brilliant minds in this room. And I can say probably Dr. Kayode Fayemi has been the one who, both in governorship and the ministerial position. But it shouldn't be that. It should be, let our best 11. You know, when Super Eagles goes to play, they say, Osime is not around. No, we are not going to win this match. So you know Osime is a good player. Who are our political Osimes? Who are the goalkeepers that will support the new Nigeria that we want to see, whether in 2027 or in 2031? We need to begin to talk about that. My own generation, I think we are the most shortchanged in the history of this country. We would never get there. I saw my friend Hamzi by the door. I told you, Hamzi, very soon you will be joining also, because it also seems that your own generation is also going, passing by. And I really think that our solutions lie not only in what Professor Kuna said about government, but citizens need to begin not to think like Igbos or Yoruba or Kanuri or Fulani. We need to begin to think about Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilary, on that note. Yeah, now we are listening to Dr. Akwete's very instructive keynote, and also the views of the panelists here. I beg that the audience should still tolerate us for another 10 minutes. We should budget 10 minutes of our time to take 5 contributions from the floor. That will mean that it will be at the cost of 2 minutes per contributor. I could see Professor Genado Adele, Prof. Yeah.
Two or three brief points. One, I think we should not confuse philanthropy with community self-help or community development. I think it's very, very important. Secondly, we should also distinguish between philanthropy as a concept and philanthropic foundations, which set out as an independent organization, properly as a public institution, in the corporate organization that goes beyond the life of those who set them up. In fact, one of the things we found out when we were working on the African peer review mechanism between 2005 and 2022 or 23, was that the private sector, although it was the one who was benefiting most from investment in democracy, makes very little contribution to democracy or to development. And one incidence of that is that you see, even despite those we talk about, you don't have any philanthropic foundation investing in research and development, which is what, strictly speaking, philosophic foundations are supposed to do. So I think we need to separate the work of philanthropy from the work of philanthropic foundations, like the MacArthur Foundation, in providing an intellectual basis, research and development within the country on various issues of our development. The second point I want to make, and I will stop, is that we should avoid this division between state, society, and the private sector. Because if you look at Chapter 2 of the Constitution of Nigeria, yes, the state is to provide that foundation by allocating social surplus, which will enable the individual to act as a citizen and enjoy the rights guaranteed under Chapter 4. Because without what is guaranteed under Chapter 2, Chapter 4 is meaningless. So that is the important point we need to make. Because we keep, question of identity, yes, but identity you cannot do away with. This is what defines me. It's not just that I'm a Nigerian. I have other linkages that are important to me. But the problem is that if we allow one to privilege the other, then we're in problem. So the point I'm making is that one of the important features, even in India, of philanthropic foundations is to provide that basis of there's a vision of the state, and they are working research and development to push it forward. We don't have that here, and we don't have it in Africa. And that was something we found out in the African pyramid, that philanthropic foundations that outlive the Dangotes or the Otetolas, and you can look back 100 years after, they are still going, doing the work they're supposed to be doing. How do we create that?
Thank you very much. My name is Comrade ENUGU. I think the person, the character of the person in the philanthropic office is very, very important. There's a lot of accusations for those in development, circles. Accusation from the government about who is leading and what they are doing and how corrupt and how they are also toeing to the mission of those who are, giving the grants. But I am saying that patriotism for you never change. If you are in these offices, if you decide to be who you are, to make sure that Nigeria is number one, and you can use it to your advantage, because if the cause of what they want you to do does not meet what you ought to be doing, you are not going to do it. And that is why, Comrade Kole exemplifies, and many others have exemplified. Now, what is happening now, the shrinking of the political space, when we are talking of strengthening democracy in Nigeria or in Africa, what are we talking about? Corruption. The biggest cankerworm is corruption in the Nigerian democracy, or in the people itself, in the society. What is the quality of the human being as a Nigerian that is occupying any position, whether you are in development or the community? We mentioned the constituency projects. Most of our parliamentarians are getting money, and they get the people to be begging. We are talking about these things while we have more than 100 million Nigerians living below the poverty line. And so they become beggars. Nigerians were not picking from the dustbin when I was a young girl, but now Nigerians are picking from the dustbin. We have shrinking civic space. When we went for end bad governance protests, many people were arrested. Can you imagine that they even confined people to stadium to go for protests? At the end of the day, what is the democracy that we are searching? The space that is shrinking. If citizens don't rise to be, because the office of citizenry is the highest office in the land, if they don't rise to be able to hold government accountable, now everybody is trying to survive. People are so hungry they cannot come out. As long as you don't come out, as long as you don't stand upright, that you leave a few people, even the civil society organization cannot stand the test of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade. Any other contributions? gentleman here.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. My name is YMD. First of all, okay. Where she is, don't you come to me?
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. Happy birthday again, Dr. Kole Shetima. I think I'll thank Professor Jenado for the conceptual clarification he also provided to this conversation. And my few points of reflections are, one, with the shifting landscape of funding and the rise in populism and absolute far-right movement, I do think that there is a greater need for more philanthropic organizations or foundations to emerge to support democracy, because as our realities change and societies evolve, so also does the threat to democracy and fundamental rights increase. And so in that light, I love the conversation around how do we look inward. And I think from this conversation today, perhaps it's also time for us to start a convening with the business class, the billionaires, the wealthy ones within the continent, to begin that whole system of setting up philanthropic foundations that support democratic strengthening within the continent. And I think Madam Hadia Sadatu made an important point around structures that are apolitical and ensuring that we promote trust even in those institutions. And I think we have within this room the wealth of knowledge to lead that convening, because the truth is, as a continent, we need to look inward to support our own system and to build our own capacities and our own resilient institutions within Nigeria, within our continent, Nigeria of course being one. And I think the last point for me is the conversation around building the next generation. That is because increasingly we have younger people questioning democracy and its value. And a lot of younger people live in this illusion that military or authoritarian dictatorship is fun because they have no experience of that military history. And I think we need to take...
It is because, as Professor Clout Ake said in his book, Democracy and Development, that there is no development in our democratic experience because development is not part of the agenda. So we need to enforce development as a major agenda in our democratic experience, in our democratic experiment. So, which is why we have to ensure that in the corridors of power are men and women who have the mindset of philosopher kings, people who visualize political power as a tool for national transformation, so that when they go in there, they'll begin to govern well, they'll begin to do the things that are necessary to catapult us to our rightful place in the community of nations. So we, the citizens, we have to cultivate the habit of enforcing development, demanding for accountability, pushing for social justice, and holding those we have ruled to the corridors of power accountable. That is how we can entrench development in our democratic journey. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And finally, just for 1 minute. Okay. Okay, maybe the lady should have it here.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. Dr. Kole Shetima, congratulations and happy birthday. I am Duru Regina, National Coordinator Regina Henry Amazing Grace Foundation. We work in slums and communities with the excluded, and that is where I'm coming from. For the role of philanthropism, I see when Mr. Henry was talking about we working not as a tribe, not Igbo, not Yoruba, not this, not that. The slum community in itself is a nation. No activity of the government is happening there. How can we strengthen democracy when we have millions that are excluded from everything the government is doing? From the slum style work, even in FCT here, as close as it is to the government, they don't get to know anything you're talking about. You see everything happening here. For them, you're talking Dogon Torenchi. it doesn't apply to them. They don't know what you're talking about. All the awarenesses, all the policies, all the programs happening at the top and even in state, they don't know what you're talking about. How can this synergy happen? How can it happen? Please, I think in all that we're doing, even for this topic, can we find a way of having inclusiveness? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, we are pressed for time. We'll be able to take more information. That's why all I'm looking for is on behalf of all of us from this end of the hall, to say thank you to all of you for listening and, paying serious attention to this question. I will agree with you that perhaps there cannot be a better way of celebrating an erudite scholar than to have a harvest or a festival in the zoo, and that's exactly what we have had in honor of our brother, friend, and family, Dr. Police. The final thing that we want to know from here is that the dynamic, the relationship between philanthropy and the democratic development, and that the role will be adaptation to changes at the form. And in doing so, like Professor ENUGU addressed, we should also have a conceptual clarity as to what exactly we want and what exactly we need. So once again, I thank all of you for this video.
Thank you very much, Comrade Kylie Komolapne. The panelists will remain on stage for a group photograph, and I would like to ask Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask the responsible please join us for this photograph. Please let us photograph everything. Mr. Chairman, please. Not for the group photograph in the panelists. Yes, come on. The group photograph will come later, and because we need to give a round of applause to all our panelists who have done extremely well. Please permit us to have this photograph with the chair,
For gender something.
That's a quick photograph of the panelists and the moderators. Professor Jega, would you like to join this picture, please? Before you depart, so that we can catch you in a photograph. And of course, the keynote. Thank you, Prof. Thank you. I want it to be a front row photograph. Everybody in the front row, stop. Please can you join this picture? Stop. Professor Jega, your stop. Front row photograph to find it. Stop. Thank you, sir. No, Prof is showing off his copy. Thank you, sir. That's the photograph of panelists, moderator, and the front row personality. And this is such an important photograph. We thank you very much. Those who have joined the photograph, we also thank the panelists and the moderators. And I would like at this point to request that as soon as they are done, they may return to their seats. Thank you very much indeed. We appreciate that picture. It's at this point that I would like to... Professor Kyari. No, we're going to your emir first.
Oh, emir. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to your emir.
Okay.
Toys of those years,
For purposes of clarity, the moderator did not only serve as he still does this day, editorial board member with me, he was also a member of the National Human Rights Commission, council member with me. So Hajia Saudi Mahdi reminded me of that. There's so much to have been said, and there's so much that have been said, and I'd like to apologize on behalf of the panel and moderators that we could not take everybody who wanted to speak. We apologize for that. MacArthur Foundation is a very worthy organization, and some of your comments can be made and sent to them. Please let's do that if we have to. I was a bit concerned that Hajia Saude Mahdi would refer to a matter that has to do with jollof rice. And I was concerned because Dr. Emmanuel Aspete was still in the room. Our keynote speaker coming from Ghana and Nigeria, and the issue of jollof, I was not worried for her as we sat there. Because if Dr. Aspete decided that he wanted to come and respond to the jollof matter, if it wasn't a matter of can we behave the way in which we eat our jollof at parties and be a nation in unison, perhaps Dr. Aspete may have been tempted to respond to this Ghanaian jollof and Nigerian jollof. I'd like to rest and congratulate the panel and the moderator for an excellent job. At this time, let's give them a round of applause before we go to the next item on the agenda. They've done very, very well. There was so much to unpack, so much to talk about. Who is government? Who is providing philanthropy? What is the conceptual note? And I was quite taken in when I heard one of the panelists say, in the Southeast, you might come back and find that your house is missing. It was quite a phenomenal comment to have made, But this is all about providing security and being together in philanthropy. And as Hajia Saude Mahdi observed, not one person, not one individual, not foundation, all of us collectively should be philanthropists. At this time, I'd like to invite to speak His Royal Highness, the Machinama Emir of Pachina, His Royal Highness Alhaji Bashar El Bashar. And he is online waiting to take his position to speak to one of his leading citizens in the room whose birthday we're celebrating. If media is ready, this is the time to bring in His Royal Highness to make that 5 minutes intervention quickly as we bring this event to an end. Do we have His Royal Highness ready to speak to us now? Or should we move quickly and then return to him when he's there? Okay, he has technical problem. Thank you. Thank you for helping to clarify that. It's at this point that I'll quickly call for his closing remarks, Professor Kyari Mohammed. Professor Kyari would like you to, as our chair, come and help us to slowly close this event, and then we're going to cut. I'm a cake person, so I can't wait for this cake business here, so that we can talk. We can't be talking, we have to eat the cake.
Yes, thank you, Virginia.
That microphone is
like you, I'm also very much in a hurry to go to the cake business. I'm not making any attempt to summarize anything, but if anything else, what has come out of today's meeting is, in one word, what all of you have said, is that Kole Shetima consistently, persistently, consciously has proven to be an agent for public good. So the only thing that has come out is the consistency. So, Kole, we thank you very much for that consistency. Whether you took that consistency from your village roots in Machina or in the classrooms of Jubo, or in faraway North America, or during your long sojourn in Abuja, we thank you very much for that consistency. There's nothing as good as an acknowledgement by your fears that you are a good person, and you are a good person not in situations but consistently. Thank you very much. Happy birthday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We appreciate the brevity of your closing remarks. And at this point, I would like to call on the celebrant who would be responding any moment from now. But first of all, the cutting of the birthday cake is so important that we are going to ask to do the order of photography along with the birthday cake business. So, in order to manage the time. So we're going to call on all those in the front row to come forward and join our birthday boy to cut this cake, which I cannot wait to eat. I cannot see our keynote speaker, and it's important that he's in this photograph. You're going to get him, sir? Okay. I need him to be in this photograph, so we will just wait for him to step into the room. This is the order. We're going to ask Mr. Chair, the Deputy UN Secretary General, and Dr. Kole Shetima to be the core of this photograph. So every photograph, they will remain inside. Everybody will just join them. So the first photograph will involve only the front row. And those who are responsible for the cake, I know we are not going to cut it with what we call in the... you see, I don't know whether that ladder can work. So that is the first photograph. And like I mentioned, the core of this photograph will be Her Excellency, the UN Deputy Secretary General, the Chairman, and Dr. Shetima. So after this photograph, everybody will fall away, and then we'll go to the second group. So the second group, when everybody has fallen out of this photograph, will be the organizers. Oh, they have to cut the cake. Okay, let me count. I have a list of 7. This is what they gave me. Please, can we count? We're counting now. 1, 10, 10 and a half, 20, 20 and 3/4, 30, 40, 40 and a half, 50, 60, 62, 62 and a half, 63, 64, 64 1/4, 65. Congratulations to Dr. Kole Shetima. Can we have the organizing committee quickly? The organizing committee quickly. We will need the organizing committee to join this picture. The organizing committee, quickly, quickly, quickly. Organizing committee, this is your picture. Please look up so we are done with the picture real quick. That being said, look up. The pictures are going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. Can you fall away? Can we have MacArthur staff real quick? Where is Amina? Amina, this is your time to be in this picture. You can't be out of this room. Amina Salihu, where is she? MacArthur staff. MacArthur staff. MacArthur staff. Are they not in this room? MacArthur staff, real quick, real quick, real quick, real quick. Our staff, come out. Get out of the way. Let them come through. MacArthur staff, please. Thank you. Can we have the students, please? All the students in the room, come forward real quick. Quick, 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 quick. We don't have the time. Civil society organization leadership. Will the classmates of Dr. Shetima stand by? Dr. Shetima, step up to the stage. I can't see some of you. Please step up to the stage quickly so that we can see you.
At least if I don't have to hold a rail.
This is the time for Dr. Shetima's classmates to join this picture. His classmates, real quick. Excuse me, if you are not Dr. Kole Shetima's classmate, please fall away. His classmates only. Excuse me, we don't have much time. Please fall away. Let's deal with only his classmates. Only his classmates. We have only 2 photographs left. Please, everybody who is not in this picture should fall away. We don't have the time. Thank you. We'll bring them, don't worry. Okay, his classmates done. CDD, 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 please come forward. CDD, please come forward. CDD, like right now, hurry up. CDD. All those who shouldn't be in this picture should please fall away like right now. CDD only. Please fall away. Okay, this photograph is done. Can we please step away and not stand in the way of the Deputy UN Secretary General? Okay, this picture is done. Please, let's take this picture. We don't have time. Okay, this photograph is done because I say so. So let's return to our seats, please. The foster children of Malam. Foster children of Malam. The first 4 of you, move forward quickly. Foster children of Malam. Quickly, the 4 foster children of Malam should please go forward. And finally, media executives in the room. I thought I saw Shegun Adeni. Only media executives in the room is the last photograph. Media executives in the room. Mr. Kayode Komolafe, this is when you get in this picture. Okay, would like to thank all the members who have come forward for the photograph. It's time for you to return to your seats. And at this point in time, I'm going to take remark by the celebrant. Remark by the celebrant. I would like to thank the Deputy UN Secretary General for her patience. And I don't know which photograph this is. Whatever it is, let's wrap it. Let's take this picture quickly. The celebrant will now respond. The celebrant will now respond. Okay, so this is the last photograph. The last photograph. Quickly. And then we'll take remarks by the celebrant. It is now my singular honor and pleasure to invite Dr. Kole Shetima to deliver his response. Dr. Kole Shetima, who has turned 65 today to the glory of God, and here we all are at Shehu Musa Yaradua Center at the symposium in his honor with role of philanthropy in strengthening democracy in Africa. Let's give a resounding Abuja round of applause to the birthday boy as he makes his way to the podium.
Thank you. Ways and others, if you can give me a moment. So I don't know where to start. So I didn't know about this event, but I got a sense of it. I think it was either Friday or Thursday, because Wise Yahoo called me and said, "Are you going to be in Abuja on Wednesday? Because I want to see you." I said to him, when is the first time? This is the first time you are telling me about your own coming to Abuja, that you want to see me on Wednesday. Then I knew that there was something suspicious about all these things. Then I think it was Princess who said, "Oh, you know, I have a program coming up. Please, I really want you to attend." And then I said, "What time? Between what time and what time?" Then she said, "Anytime from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. I said, "No, let's check with Esther, because Esther has the calendar, and try to see if there is that possibility." Then I knew there was also another problem. Then I think it was when I got the suspicion that there was something wrong. Then I called the Eradua Center people, and I said that, "Is the auditorium free on Wednesday?" Then Robert said, "Professor Jibo has paid for an event on that Wednesday." Then I concluded. But I think the one which I thought was the most interesting excuse was Amina, I think on Monday, came to me and said, "Malam, you know, we have a symposium going to happen at Edward Center on Monday." So at that time, I did not see the notice. I think it was on Monday. Abi Mahmoud posted it on our own platform. Then I saw it. I said, so this is all this one. So she said, "Oh, there's a symposium. Malam, can you create time for us to come?" And I think, okay, I will come. So that's how I knew about this event. Because if you look at my calendar, I was actually supposed to be in Benin City throughout this week. Professor Okonofua said, "Can you come for a meeting?" I said, "Yes." I committed myself last year for the meeting in Benin. Then something came up, then he canceled. Then Esther was asking me, "Doctor, this your Benin trip, if it's not coming up, can we schedule some things? I said, no, just leave it as it is so that nobody is going to do any wayo for me about celebrations and other things as well. But I'm very happy, very excited to be here. Certainly if I knew, I would have kicked against it. But I think that those of you who have put together this event, I am very excited about it. I think that I want to, in particular, I think appreciate someone in the MacArthur Foundation. We call her the Vice President of the world. So this was the joke. So we had a meeting, and those of you in MacArthur, you remember, in December. And then we saw our president suited with tie and everything. Everyone was asking. And he was in New York. He was asking, John, what is happening? You have suit today and other things? Then he said, I'm going to see the Vice President of the world, who is our own Amina Mohammed. So we call her the Vice President of the world because for John, he was going to see the Vice President of the world, suited and everything as well. But to thank her, not only for this occasion, but if you remember 5 years ago, she was here also in person as the chair of a similar event which was organized at the Hilton as well. Thank you for being there that time. Thank you for being here this time. Thank you for being who you are. Actually, I did not expect you to be here because, you know, yesterday when we corresponded, actually I thought because of the African Union meeting, I really assumed that probably you are already there in Addis, getting ready for the summit of the head of states and governments as well. That was my assumption, anticipation. Thank you. Our chair for the occasion, Professor Kari Mohammed, it was only on Saturday, I think it was on Saturday, myself and a young woman who calls him his father, Fatima Abana, who you know as our own African Union representative at the AU, in the UN. So we're talking about him, and he was saying that, oh, I have not seen Bani for a long time. I say, oh yeah, Banam is in view. You know, he doesn't really come out and other things. So I'm very happy, very excited to see you, driving all the way from that place to come this place. Other members of the who have been here, Professor Junedu. Junedu is really an inspiration to all of us because Professor Junedu is somebody that we can, you know, basically we abuse him in the sense that we just give him every responsibility and he does it with a lot of passion and commitment. And thank you, Prof, for all the things that you have been doing to us and making us what we are and other things. Professor Akwete, I think that I was surprised to see you all the way from Accra, but thank you very much for taking the time and also to speak about a very important and critical issue in our life around the role of philanthropy in democracy. As we know what is happening in the AES states, but also around our region in terms of the challenges that we are facing and other things, I think it is very good that you are here. I call my employee just in order to promote myself, that I know someone like who not only became a special, I think a special rapporteur of the United Nations, became a national commissioner at INEC. So one way for me really to show how important I am is to refer to people like as my employee, Professor Jibo as also my employee at the Center for Democracy and Development. Otip Ibuzo is my student at the University of Maiduguri. And so that's the way in for me to show up my own importance and as well. So a lot of you here, I think I have known you from various walks. Nana Tonko, from the very, very early days of philanthropy, she has been with us doing all kinds of important great works and contributions to our society. Our friends who have come from various facets of life and who have been doing a lot of great work that all of you are doing. I want to appreciate my classmates, my schoolmates who are here. Hajia Habiba, you know, she gave a lot of top time in class. She was always like #1 in our class. She was given a lot of top time, but you know, but thank you very much for being here. I tried to reach you back yesterday, but I couldn't connect with you yesterday. But thank you for all the things that you have said as well. And of course, my other classmates, I think Hassan is here. The other classmates who we used to beat in the classroom, Obama now has run away. So, but please convey my greetings to them. And our head boy, many of you met him at the 30th anniversary. I think he's here. I know Garba Auduganga, and then of course our own other prefect in our school who is here as well. Ishaku Ibrahim. And then, from the Machina delegation, the Marapa of Machina, who, as you know, the three of us were the three Troikas with the Emir and myself, and I think that I'm so excited and very happy that you were able to make it. I know that I think you were informed either before yesterday or something, and I think that you were able to make this journey to come and represent this, our Machina community is excellent, and thank you very much for taking the time for doing that one. I know there are a number of many other people from the panelists who were responded. I thank you very much. Our CDD family members who are all here, I want to appreciate you from my days in Action Aid as a board member of Action Aid. I see the Action Aid family who are here represented, the young children who are here. I think that all of you, I want to thank you for doing all what you do. The last what I would say is to the organizing committee for organizing this. So I was asked, somebody called me, said, Kole, you remember when you were organizing Jibo's event, you organized it over 8 months. Why are you calling us for an event with 2 days notice? Then I say, it's a Fulani man who organized it. So when you have YZ, and as a Fulani man, they don't plan anything. So it's just out of blue, you just call people to invite people to an event and other things. So that's why, when Mohamed Kuna was talking about what he was talking about, I was just being, out of respect for the DSG, I was just trying to calm myself and not to